Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, August 26th meeting of the Missoula Board of County Commissioners. I'd like to call us to order, and let's begin with our standard and traditional land acknowledgement. Missoula County acknowledges that this event takes place in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish and Kalispel people. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you, everyone. Are there any announcements today? Okay. Any public comment on items not on the agenda? And if folks are on the line, either via phone or utilizing Microsoft Teams, if you're using Teams, please use the raise hand function and I will call on you in the order in which you raise your hand. If you're on the phone, please hit *6 and unmute yourself and start talking, and we'll call on you that way. So, any public comment on items not on today's agenda? Seeing none. Our current claims list, and this would be claims received as of August 3rd, 2021 through August 16th, 2021 by the Commissioner's Office, total $4,041,320.09. As we always say, if you want to learn more about any of the claims that added up to that amount, go on our website, find the electronic agenda for today's meeting, click on the current claims list, and you can drill down to your heart's content to see what we have been spending money on. So we have a whole bunch of public hearings today. Some will probably go quicker than others. And the way this is going to work, as always, we will begin with a staff report. It will be followed by comments from either, if it's applicable, either from an applicant or the applicant's representative. We will then open up the public hearing for members of the public to comment. We'll close the public hearing, have questions from the commission, have a motion, discussion on the motion, and then we will vote. And same process as with public comment on non-agenda items. If you want to comment, please raise your hand if you're on Microsoft Teams or unmute yourself and start speaking at the appropriate place when I call on you. So with that, our first public hearing, which I'll open, is on a number of annexation petitions into the Missoula Rural Fire District. And Patrick.
Hello, my name is Patrick Swart, and I'm with the Clerk and Recorder's Office. The Clerk and Recorder's Office received 2 petitions to annex land into the Missoula Rural Fire District, and the petition fees for both of these properties have been paid in full. The first property is legally described as the southwest quarter.
Patrick, is your microphone on?
Green light is on.
The green light is on. Okay, Mike, with all being masked up here, just speak a little closer to the. There we go. Thank
you. The first property is legally described as the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 8, Township 13 North, Range 20 West, also known as 3100 Emma Gulch Trail, Missoula, Montana 59804. And the second property is legally described as Tract 9 of Certificate of Survey 2145, located in the south half of the northwest quarter of Section 12, Township 13 North, Range 21 West, also known as 3200 Sherman Gulch Road, Missoula, Montana 59804. These petitions have been signed by the property owners who represent at least 40% of the acreage and 40% of the taxable value of the property to be annexed. And notices of hearing for each of these petitions have been published twice in the Missoulian. These 2 petitions were submitted to us separately and should be considered independently, but a motion to approve or deny can include both petitions. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Is there any public comment on these petitions for annexation into Missoula Rural Fire District? Anyone online, Teams or on the phone? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions from the commission?
Do you know, Patrick, what has Rural Fire had to say about this?
They have, so the property owners submitted the request to them and they jointly submitted the petition to our office. So the fire district has signed off and said that the properties meet all of their standards and expectations as far as we can tell.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, with that, I motion that the commissioners approve the Missoula County Rural Fire District annexation petitions as presented.
And I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thanks, Patrick.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, our second public hearing is a continuation of a discussion and public hearing we opened a while back. Matt Heimel, would you like to present LW Commons rezoning to us?
Sure, good afternoon, Commissioners. Matt Heimel here with CAPS. I'll share my screen and show the property location for this item. Just a moment. Okay, so the location for this request is the southwest corner of Waldo Road and Highway 93. This is Lot 1 of Manley subdivision, and this is a rezoning proposal. So the current zoning is CR2 residential. The proposal is to rezone to CC2 general commercial. This property is within the general commercial land use designation from the 2019 land use element, and in staff's review, it met all of the rezone criteria. This was brought to the planning board on June 1st. The board voted 9 affirmative votes unanimously to approve the rezone request. This was brought to a public hearing, the Board of County Commissioners on June 24th, and a resolution of intention was approved. That was resolution 2021-083. A comment period for 30 days was open for 30 days following publication of that resolution. We've received no additional comments, so today is our scheduled day for a resolution, a final resolution to adopt this rezoning. So that's the fast version of it. I'm happy to go over any details of the project if you'd like, or bring up the rezone criteria as well.
Okay, well, first, before we do that, is the applicant or the applicant's representative on the line? Hello.
Hello, this is Ryan Fry. I might be coming up as Matt, but I'm the representative. So our plans haven't changed with the property. We look forward to the rezone and continuing our live work townhome project up at the Y.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment on the proposed rezoning? Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Questions from the commission?
I don't have any questions. I just want to applaud their creativity for pushing live work out to this area, and excited to see it happen.
Yep, echo that.
Yeah, best of luck in implementing it. Yeah, good to see it being used. Okay, how about a motion?
Could you bring up some motion language, man?
You even, it's,
There,
Oh, shit.
there it is.
Sorry,
if we got paper
I'm sorry.
this time.
Okay, I would move that the request to adopt the resolution to rezone Lot 1 of Manley subdivision be approved based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law in the staff report.
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Hey,
All right,
Good luck, Ryan.
good luck.
thanks, Ryan. Masquerading as Matt. Okay, our next item is also brought to us by Matt Heimel. This is the Cartage Flex Warehouse rezoning, which, like the last item, is a continuation of a public hearing that we opened a while back. Matt.
All right, Commissioners, Matt Heimel with CAPS again. I'm just bringing up a different folder so I can have motion ready if you get to that moment. Okay, so here is the property for this rezone request. This property is at 9121 Cartage Road in the Y, just east of Highway 93 and north of the interstate. This property is currently zoned CC2 General Commercial, and the rezone request is to go to CI1 Light Industry. And this property is within the light industrial land use designation from the 2019 land use element. And again, in staff's review of this proposal, we found that it met all of the rezone criteria. This proposal was brought to the planning board again on June 1st with a unanimous vote, 9 votes to approve the rezone request. A public hearing was held by the county commissioners on June 24th, and a resolution of intention was adopted. That was resolution 2021-083. I think I have the right number. And that opened another 30-day comment period. And we received no additional comments on this. So staff has recommended approval of this project all along, and I'm happy to take any additional questions that you might have.
Thanks. Is the applicant or applicant's representative on the line?
Yes, Don Malott here representing the development team. And I don't have anything further to add beyond what we discussed at the previous hearing.
So correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably am wrong. This is in the general area of where we had a discussion a while back about some concerns that the fire district, Missoula Rural, had relative to sprinklers and water source. By the blank stares I'm getting, I think I'm confusing my projects, but I could have sworn it was out in this general vicinity.
Sorry, commissioners, I'm not familiar with any.
Okay, well, hold that for another day. They may still be working out the details. Do you recall this?
Yes,
discussion?
but I could be in this general area and it might
A
not be
different
this.
project
Clearly a different project and
So
slightly
like
different.
holding tanks and
versus sprinkler cisterns versus sprinklers.
That would be,
Yes.
that would be, yeah.
not this project.
Yeah, okay, well, forget I asked that. Let's open up the public hearing or continue it. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to comment on this proposed zoning? Rezoning. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any further questions that might be more on point than mine from the commission?
Good on this one.
Yep, likewise, request that the board adopt resolution to rezone the property at 9121 Cartage Road, zoned CC2, general commercial to CL1I, CI1, light industry, based on the findings of fact and conclusion of law contained in the staff report.
What do you think, Josh?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thanks, Don.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Don.
All right, next we will move into the second phase of our series of public hearings today, these dealing with the FY22 budget. And to begin with, we have a number of special districts that we're going to actually take action or are proposing to take action on today. The first being Rural Special Improvement District's budget, the second being Missoula County Fairgrounds Special District budget, the third being the Seeley Lake Refuse District budget. And Amanda, are you going to be presenting these to us?
Good afternoon, commissioners. Yes, I will be. And
Okay,
I
it's all
will
yours.
momentarily share the screen. So the first request that I have for you today is that you review and approve the assessments and budget for the rural special improvement districts. We have 35 street lighting districts, 4 water and sewer maintenance districts, 6 parks and common area districts, 11 debt service districts that are paying off prior infrastructure improvements. The only district to have an increase in assessments this year is the Sunset West Water Maintenance District. The proposed increase is for $66.67 annually, which would bring the total proposed annual assessment for each property to $542.22. Assessments have not been increased since 2018 for this particular district. And while Public Works has worked to reduce their budget where possible, the system is aging and just requires additional upkeep. We are expecting a small loss this year, even with these increased assessments, but we'll attempt to avoid that at all possible costs. And then none of the other rural special improvement district total assessments will increase in the fiscal year 2022. RSID total assessments have not increased since 2018 for any of these districts. Individual property assessments may change within some of the other districts based on the division or merger of properties within the districts that share the expenses. And we have budget information for each district available online, and it's also part of your packet of materials along with the resolution I'm asking you approve today.
Thanks, Amanda. Is there any public comment on the FY22 Rural Special Improvement District budgets? Okay, seeing none. Close the public hearing. Questions from the commission? Or motion? Oh, and there's the motion right there.
Okay, I would move to approve the assessments for the rural special improvement districts and approve the fiscal year 2022 budget for the districts.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Aye.
Can a comment at the end here? Just want to say thank you to Amanda.
Okay.
Thank you, Amanda. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda, for your work on the rural special improvement districts and the fiscal year 2022 budget for those districts.
Thank you.
Next. Fairgrounds.
All right, just moving to the right set of slides. So for the Fairgrounds Special District for the fiscal year 22, I'm asking that you adopt the increased assessments and the budget for this one as well. The Fairgrounds Phase 1 renovation assessment is estimated to be right around $744,927. The new assessment and increase for fiscal year 22 that will support the Rocky Mountain Gardens and Exploration Center is for an additional $590,975. Both of those assessments will in essence pay the debt service for the construction bonds that have been and will be issued by the district. Excess assessment revenue that receive over the amounts for the debt service will be added to the construction funds.
All right, this is a public hearing. Any public comment on the Fairgrounds Special District budget for FY22? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Questions from the commission?
So I just
go ahead.
More of a comment, and this is on the Rocky Mountain Exploration Center, and I may get some of these details wrong, and if I do, Andrew, please fill it in. I just wanted to let people know who are watching or otherwise listening that this money we're talking about here is for debt service. The actual a large amount of the costs for the Rocky Mountain Exploration Center were covered by a whole bunch of partners, the biggest one being the folks around the Butterfly House, who raised $3 million plus of private money to get where they are. And also our extension folks, Jerry Marks and his staff, over decades have raised how much money?
1.6 million, and then they've had additional fundraising efforts of another $250,000.
And then our conservation district is also kicking in 252. So this is a heavily partnered effort, definitely not entirely government funded. I would say mostly privately funded. And it's going to be a great asset to the fairgrounds and to the community.
It certainly is.
Yeah, thanks.
Well into the future. So
Yeah, and I would also just add that it's not a coincidence that arguably the best year we have ever had at the Western Montana Fair falls on the heels of investing in the facility, renovating the facility, and that is also a part of what we're talking about here.
Absolutely.
yeah, well said. A motion that the board approve resolution for the assessment of $1,402,739 and the budget for the Missoula County Fairgrounds Special District for fiscal year 2022.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Amanda, for your work on that.
You're welcome.
And moving on to the Seeley Lake Refuse District budget.
Yes, so again, today I'm asking that you would approve the resolution for the increase in assessed fees and also the budget for the Seeley Lake Refuse District. For the district for this year, the proposed fees for district ratepayers will increase to $180 per year. That would be up from $150 per year. The out of district refuse fees will also increase to $4 per 32-gallon or $18 per cubic yard. Fees for yard debris, appliances, construction materials, etc. will also increase slightly. If you approve the resolution today, the fees increases would be effective for September 1st, 2021 for all of those special items and out of district refuse. And the increase for the district ratepayers will be in the October tax bill. Just a little bit about the Seeley Lake Refuse District budget. The increases in this particular budget are driven by three factors. There's been a higher volume of refuse being delivered to the transfer site from both inside and outside the district. There's a contractual 4% annual increase for the hauling and transfer services from Republic Services, and we're going to be replacing a piece of equipment, a backhoe, that's over 20 years old. So overall, all of those things have kind of come together to create a 14% anticipated and budgeted increase for the garbage collection for this coming year. We'll be using prior year savings to purchase the backhoe, and we'll be establishing an equipment replacement fund for future replacements of that backhoe. Also, when I checked just a few moments ago, we had not received any public comments via email or phone for this particular district.
Thanks, Amanda. I'll open up the public hearing. Is there any public comment on the proposed FY22 Seeley Lake Refuse District budget?
This is Nathan Bourne with the Seeley Swan Pathfinder.
Hi, Nathan, go ahead.
A couple of questions. How much is currently in that capital reserve fund that the backhoe is being purchased out of? And also, when the old backhoe is disposed of, does that money come back? Because I'm assuming it'll be sold at auction or something other. Does that money come back into the district then?
Thanks, Nathan. Who would like to field that? I don't know if Shane's on the line here, but Andrew.
Yeah,
Shane, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on. I don't know how much is in the existing account, and I'll defer to Amanda on that. But the existing backhoe we will keep on site as a backup in case we need to do repairs on the new one. So it'll be a good backup. And then in the event that, let's say 10 years down the road, we recycle that one out and get a new backhoe purchased. Yes, any revenue from the auctioning off of that equipment would go back into the district.
Thanks, Shane. Amanda, you have at your fingertips some insight on the first half of the question?
I do, yes. As of June 30th, there was approximately $160,000 in the account. And so we will be spending roughly, as planned, about $118,000 of that for the backhoe and any anticipated shortages in the fund that could happen during this year.
And Amanda, is it true? We haven't raised
I was gonna ask that
10,
too.
is it, what did you say, 10 years?
Yes, the last time that the assessments were raised was in 2011, and that was an increase from $125 to $150 at that time.
Okay, thanks.
Nathan, does that answer your questions?
Yeah, that answered them. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on the proposed FY22 Seeley Lake Refuse District budget? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Additional questions or comments from the commission or a motion? Cue up the motion there, Amanda, please.
All right, I would move to approve the increased assessment and fees for the Seeley Lake Refuse District and approve the fiscal year 2022 budget for the district.
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you yet again, Amanda, for your hard work on all of this. Next, we will move into our public hearing, which our budget hearing's been open for a number of weeks now. This is today, though, our final budget hearing. This is on the FY 2022 Missoula County budget, and I will turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer, Andrew Chorney.
Thank you. Today's
I should also, before Andrew launches in, note that we are not going to be taking action on this today. We'll be discussing the final budget, but at a what is the date, by the way, at our
September 9th.
September 9th, Missoula County Board of County Commissioners administrative meeting, we will be actually taking action to hopefully adopt the budget. So
Dave, does that mean between now and then people have the opportunity to comment?
you can always comment right up until the minute before midnight, so to speak. Yes, absolutely. Go ahead, Andrew.
All right. I had to take my mask off. I couldn't. Bosses keep fogging up. So, final budget timeline and information. This is a final presentation. We're going to talk about the overall budget, tax impacts. If you'd like to make some public comment, there's a telephone number here or an email address, which will go directly to the BCC. We have a website that will contain all the budget information that you would like to see. And as mentioned previously, we'll do the budget adoption on September 9th of this year. I'd like to start with a budget overview. Total budgeted revenues for the coming year is $171.3 million. Property taxes make up slightly over a third of all the county revenue, or 35%, where our largest contributor is other revenue, which is at 54%. So you might wonder, what is other revenue? It includes intergovernmental revenues, which is primarily made up of federal, state, and city payments, grants, reimbursements, contractual agreements. We have licenses and permits for dog licenses, building, electrical, and plumbing permits, charges for services over the clerk and recorder's office, subdivision review for the CAPS department, and then a really large one for Missoula County Health and Partnership, more so Partnership Health for medical services. And Partnership Health is not a tax-supported entity within the county. Total budgeted expenditures are going to be $173.8 million. Should be no surprise that personnel takes up the lion's share of the expense budget at $82.5 million, or 47% of the total, followed by operations at 36% of the total, or $62.5 million. What we haven't included in the budget data is any of the COVID-19 expenses. In fiscal year 21, the county spent $14.2 million for testing, vaccination, contact tracing, temporary employees, and other COVID mitigation efforts. And those costs seem to be coming back with the new Delta variant. So we're going to have some more federal support, I'm certain, and state programs to offset those costs, mitigate any implementation of local tax dollars. We received our first half of our ARP payment, which is a federal COVID tax or COVID recovery program. Expenditures will be covered by the revenues received. We will be having a separate meeting and presenting the ARPA spending plans. And then use from cash for prior years. We plan to use the $2.5 million in excess cash that's in excess of the minimum requirement for reserves for each department to bridge that gap between the 174 in expenditure and 171 in revenues. And those are all one-time expenses. Those aren't ongoing expenses. Looking at budget comparison, we just slightly down in revenues, and expenditures were up $6.2 million, and I'll talk about that a little bit. Expenditures, lion's share expenditures were in the other category. Proposed $8.8 million increase in revenue. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking about revenue here. Proposed $8.8 million increase in revenue. Lion's share, $7.5 million, belongs to PHC. PHC, again, is not a tax-supported county department. Their revenue is fee-based or intergovernmental like grants. Community Justice received another MacArthur Foundation grant of $350,000. It's the first full year that we're getting cable franchise fees from Charter Spectrum. We got two quarters last year, but we'll get a full year this year. Looking at the expenditures of the $7.7 million in personnel, PHC contributes $4.4 million of that total expenditure piece. The rest has been made up by some reclassifications and some increase in personnel, and as well as some increases for the sheriff's deputies, and that were mandated by the state legislature. Sorry. So talked about the base budget increases, just to sustain our service levels that we implemented in the prior year. Personnel is the largest component. 85% of the Missoula County employees are covered by collective bargaining agreements. 3% increase in health insurance costs for the 855 FTEs here at the county. We've reached a goal of paying a minimum starting wage of $15 per hour for all our permanent employees. Quite an accomplishment. And wage increases to stay competitive with area employers, which are seeing a record unemployment. Retain employees and assist recruitment across all departments. So new funding requests. The commissioners considered over 100 requests and decided to fund $2.6 million in new spending. Approved personnel increases include 2 new full-time positions, reconfiguration of 5 positions, an addition of 6 part-time positions. They approved operation increases to include elections, overnight security, increasing building maintenance costs for a detention center. We have 3 very large boilers that need to be replaced. Support funding for the 100% clean electricity initiative, several upgrades to internal systems, And new additions from the preliminary budget to now, we've increased 1.5 FTEs for the Treasurer Motor Vehicle Department and added a combination of reduction of temporary salaries and new funding. 110,705 was added to a road fund to partially replace the local option sales tax that the citizens of Missoula voted for, but the legislature deemed illegal. Yeah, I think it's about. I want to talk a little bit about the county's property values. Each year, or not each year, every other year, the Montana Department of Revenue reappraises 100% of the residential, commercial, industrial lands and improvements. And they also do 100% of the value of all agricultural land every 2 years. 100% of the value of the forest land is reappraised every 6 years. Overall, the growth continues in Missoula, and newly taxable properties showed the growth for fiscal 22. This is the total assessed value for Missoula County. It's increased $5.5 billion just over the last 6 years. So we're now at $18.4 billion, quite a substantial increase over that period of time. And it's no surprise the taxable values followed suit. Taxable value is a percentage of the assessed value of the property. On a residential home, it's 1.35% of the taxable value. We had growth of $84.2 million in taxable value over the last 6 years. Yeah.
You said that 1.3%. Could you explain that again?
The legislature sets the tax rates for each piece of property, each whatever it might be business in the state, and the 1.35% is the percentage assigned to residential class 4 homes.
That's the tax rate.
That's the tax rate. So that's applied against the taxable value to determine the and then divided by 1,000, which is 1/1000th of the total value to get your tax. The newly taxable property is a nice addition because these are properties that have never been on the tax roll before. These are just completed, they've just been finished, and they come on the tax roll and they provide additional money to support the tax burden of the Missoula taxpayers. Yeah, and the total taxable value for this year is about $6 million, which is as high as we've received in the last 6 years. So the reappraisal values, they started in 2018, but we didn't see much of an increase in 2018 because the program was just getting off the ground. But 2 years ago in 2020, we saw a 12% increase in tax from the reappraisals. And this year we've seen and this is an average, countywide average, 15%. Many houses have gone up substantially more. Some have gone down, stayed lower, gone down a little bit. So the reappraisal price, what the DOR does is they do a mass appraisal and they value groups of properties. They use common data, standardized methods, statistical testing, property location. Neighborhoods are grouped across Missoula. So if you pull up on a map and see what everybody's tax bill is, you'll see in groups of areas, they go up by the same percentage no matter what the house is. So it's an inexact science. We had 12% in 2020, and our most recent reappraisal year, it averaged 15%. And this is substantially different from the sales price of the home. The sales price is where a willing buyer and seller will exchange dollars for a home and with no pressure. But the average median price of a home in Missoula area as of June of this year is $430,000. So if you want to calculate your county taxes, let's go to this website. And you just go ahead and put in your address and it'll come up with a history of your market value or assessed value, the year it was, and it's always a year behind. So 21 is the fiscal year 22 taxable value. You can see this home here has a taxable value of $4,552. There's two components of the county property taxes. The assessed value determined by the DOR, average increase of 15%. Property owners may see it higher or lower, as I said, depending on where they live. County increase over the prior year's mill levies is the other piece. The fiscal year 22 rate impacts, we're going to talk about impacts to $350,000 home in 2022. It'd be a $1.94 increase for houses inside the Missoula city limits, and a $12.14 increase for houses outside the Missoula city limits. The rate is offset and changes with other components like voter parks and open space bonds. It went down, the open space, which we used to fund the parks, and the other open space actually decreased this year because of the increase in the mill value. The debt service stays the same, so we don't need as much money for debt service.
Andrew, before you go on, could you just explain for folks, someone just looking at this might wonder, why is it so much greater outside of the city limits as opposed to in? And I believe that's related to the road fund.
It is. It's the outside of the city limits, we have, inside the city limits, we have what we call county-wide mills, and they also apply to outside the city limits, but outside the city limits, we add to it the road fund, the health fund, and animal control fund. So those are the additions that make up that difference. And we raised the millage in the health department with all the COVID issues, and we did try to do one mill for the roads to try and offset that awful loss of the local option.
Just throw something out there. Yeah, thanks. So when people pay taxes, they pay property taxes to multiple jurisdictions. So if somebody's just checking in on this for the first time, they may think, oh, look at that. You pay more money in property tax if you live outside of the city limits. And that's not necessarily the case, pretty much not, rarely is the case. We're only speaking specifically about taxes paid to Missoula County. If someone's living in the city of Missoula, inside the city limits, they're also paying city of Missoula taxes, which are pretty substantial. And if you're living outside of the city limits, you're probably paying taxes into a rural fire district. So this isn't the whole picture. This is just one slice of a picture.
That's a good point. Generally speaking, that almost 99% of the time, taxes are cheaper outside of the city.
Yeah, excellent point, Josh, because if you think back to that earlier example of the property that is paying $4,000 a year or whatnot, even though the tax bill is coming from Missoula County, only a portion of that amount is for operations of Missoula County government, just because you have these other taxing jurisdictions, which actually collectively are way more than what Missoula County government is collecting.
So make sure to go to the website and check out the pie charts.
Exactly. That's the right answer.
So what we want to do is illustrate how what the effect is on the $350,000 home in fiscal year 22. So In 21, it would have been 304,350. The 15% average increase brings it to the $350,000 level. We take the tax rate of 1.35, which is established by the legislature. And we multiply the $350,000 by that. Brings us to a taxable value of $4,725. The mills we levied in both years were 227.16 mills. You take the taxable value times the mills and then divide by 1,000, and that will give you your tax burden. So the tax on a $350,000 house in fiscal year 22 would be $1,073.33, or an increase of $139.93. And this is for a house that's located outside the city limits. And that's only county taxes. And then calculating the increase of the taxes that Missoula County levied in excess of the mills that were levied last year, we would just need to use the fiscal year 22 information. So again, the tax rate of 1.35, taxable value of 42.25. The additional mills levied outside the city limits were 2.57.41 within the city limits. Go through our formulas and we find that it's $12.14 outside the city and $1.94 inside the city for the mills that were approved above last year's mills. The fiscal year 22 total county budget property taxes averaged 15% higher, increase in the assessed value $1,073.33. And these are the two taxes for inside and outside the city limits. So total county bill outside the city limits would be $1,085.47. And inside the city limits, $1,075.27, an increase of $152.07 outside the city limits, and an increase of $141.87 within the city limits. And that's on a $350,000 house, including the reappraisal and the additional mills levied by the county. So the proposed budget is, in summary, $171.3 million in revenues, $173.8 million in total expenditures. The deficit of $2.5 million reflects the use of cash savings from prior years for one-time expenditures. COVID and ARPA expenditures are not included.
Sorry, when do we have the ARPA discussion? Is that in
I don't know.
September, October?
September,
So
October.
Commissioners, Chris Lonsbury, the Chief Administrative Officer. So you have your preliminary hearing September 9th on that, and then the last week of, or second to last Thursday of the month in September, because there are 5, is the second hearing for the ARPA budget.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Sure. Total expenditure increase of 3.7% or $6.2 million. It sustained service levels implemented during the previous fiscal year. Funds 3.5 new FTEs and partial replacement for the lost gas tax funding. In terms of Missoula County growth, the Montana DOR assessed values and increased by $5.5 billion over the last 6 years, 6 million newly, and we have received this year $6 million in newly taxable property. And that is my summary. I would be happy to take any questions or comments.
Thanks, Andrew. This is a continuation of our public hearing on the FY22 budget. Is there any public comment from folks either here in the Sophie Moise room in the Missoula County Courthouse in beautiful downtown Missoula, or any public comment from folks online via Microsoft Teams or on the phone. If you're on Teams, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. If there's anyone on the phone, please just unmute yourself, *6, and introduce yourself. Okay, seeing none, we will keep the public hearing open, and we will be, well, before we adjourn here today, we'll see if the commissioners have any comments or questions, but we'll continue to take public comment up until September 9th during our administrative public meeting, where we will take action on this. Commissioners Vero or Slotnick?
Just real quick, Amanda or Andrew, of the requests that we were presenting, how many or how much did we say no to?
2.6 million or something.
Oh, okay.
2.6 million. I think that's right.
Or
Amanda, do you know?
that is correct. It was 2.6 million that was initially no.
And these,
They denied. Okay,
and
thank
these
you.
were not, none of these were frivolous requests or anything. This is
Painfully denied.
yeah, it was a difficult decision process. There's a lot of needs in the community, a lot of asks from community members for enhanced services. And our staff did an excellent job, I think, of trying to be responsive to that and putting together budgets that reflected those community and county values. But at the end of the day, we simply could not bear that much in the budget. Other questions, comments? Okay, well, thanks, Andrew, for all of your heavy lifting on this. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks all of our finance staff, budget team who got us to this point. And we will continue the discussion, continue the public comment period until September 9th. Is there any other business to come before the commission at this time? Okay, seeing none, we will be adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks.